attain our objectives, may we have a fruitful day, not only in mathematics, but in the other subjects for students as well. We ask for your help in making us understand and making us grasp new knowledge. Thank you, sir, for everything. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay. Remember our basic rules. Please turn on your cameras, mute your mic. Okay. Be on time, be prepared to turn on your cameras, mute your mic, have the self-confidence to share, respect others, and no eating. I know, like, some of you may feel cold, some of you might be in your sleeping clothes, right? But if you have a little, you can put a little background on Google Meet, you can do so, right? We do not have to see what's going on in your background. But remember to turn on your cameras. It is very essential. So to begin our class, I'll start with the true and false activity, and and then we will move on to some of the questions that we did not solve yesterday, right? So let's start with the true and false. When multiplying fractions, we have to flip the second fraction, true or false?
False.
False.
I hear two false. Who else?
No.
False is
False,
Ernest.
Miss.
False.
Say false. Someone say
False.
true. False. The answer is false. When we are multiplying fractions, we just multiply numerator with numerator and denominator with denominator. It is division, right? That has to flip the second fraction and change the sign. Number two, we need to find the LCM of the denominators of fractions that are alike in order to add or subtract them. True or false?
True.
True. True.
True, Miss.
Very good. It is true, right? We need to find the LCM first. Number three, the order of operation for fraction is the same as whole numbers. True or false? The order of operation for fractions is the same as whole numbers. That means we solve them in the same order. Do we solve them in the same order? Or we don't?
True.
True, says Ryan. Who else? Who thinks it's true and who thinks it's false? Ernest, yes, true.
True, Miss.
True, says Marian. Pascual as well, Edwin as well. Yes, the answer is true, right? We use the same order of operation, which is PEMDAS, right? When multiplying fractions with the same denominator, we keep the denominator. True or false?
True, Miss. True.
True, Miss.
When multiplying fractions with the same denominator, we keep the denominator. I heard that false, and I see many truths. The answer is false. Why? When multiplying fractions with the same denominator, we multiply them, right? Okay, Gerald, so we multiply them. It is addition and subtraction that if they have the same denominator, we keep the denominator, right? Do not get confused. Number 5, we change the division sign to multiplication when dividing fractions. True or false?
True, Miss.
True.
Very good, right? The answer is true. When we divide, we have to change the sign to multiplication and flip the second fraction. right? So good. Moving on to some examples that you wanted some help. Let's take a look at how to solve this, right? Just let me find where, yeah. Okay. Which which of the two operation will we do first?
Parenthesis first.
I'm talking about the first one. We don't have, yes, we do parentheses first, but in this case, we do not have parentheses. Do we have exponents?
Maybe after we divide. Divide.
Good. We are to divide, right? But why? Because we do not have parentheses, we do not have exponents, so we move on to multiplication and division, right? Because in this case we have division, we are to divide first. This is the first thing that we will do. So how will we divide? What are the steps for us to divide? What happens with the first fraction?
Stay the same.
Very good. It stays the same, right? Good. It stays the same. What happens to the division sign?
Multiplication and
Very good.
multiplication.
It changed to multiplication. And what happens to this fraction, the second fraction here? Do we keep this fraction? Do we keep this fraction?
No.
No, right? What
No,
should
miss.
we do to it?
Flip it.
Flip it,
Very
miss.
good. We flip it, or in other words, multiply by the reciprocal, right? Because there is a 3 in the top and a 3 at the bottom, we could cancel that, right? 3 goes into 3 one time, and 3 goes into 3 one time. So now how much do we have? 2 times 1?
2.
2. And 1 times 1?
1.
1.
1. Right? So that is our new fraction. 2 over 1 minus 2/5. Now this has unlike denominators, right? So what will we do?
LCM.
Find the LCM. What is the LCM of 1 of 5?
5.
5, right?
5.
5. This is the lowest common multiple of the two. So now, what number times 1 will give me 5? 5, very good, right? So when we do this, we have this as our denominator, but we also have to multiply our numerator. So when we do this, we have 10 over 5, right? Minus, because the numerator is the same, we could just write it like this under the same denominator, right? We don't have it to write it as two separate fractions. That is your preference. If you want to write 10 over 5 minus the next fraction, that's okay, but you can still write it together. So 5 times what gives me 5?
1.
1. So that means that I have to multiply this numerator by 1, right? So we have 2. What I'm saying, if you didn't understand me, is that we could also write this as I have it there or separately, right? It's the same thing. It doesn't matter. As long as it is the same denominator, it doesn't matter how you write it. It could be joint or it could be separate. So how much is 10 minus 2?
8.
8.
8, right? And what is our denominator?
5.
5.
5, right? It stays the same. So our answer is 8 over 5, right? So moving on to this second question. Any questions with this first one?
No, miss.
Okay.
No, miss.
So moving to the second one, we will do first. Which operation will we do first?
Brackets.
Parenthesis.
The parentheses or the
Parentheses, miss.
brackets, right? Very good. So what do we have to do with this 1 3/4? What do we have to do with this?
Change it to an improper fraction,
Very
miss.
good. Change it to an improper fraction. How do we change it? 4 times 1, 4 plus 3, 7. And our denominator stays the same. So we have 7/4 minus 4/5, right? So these are unlike fractions. So we need to find the LCM. So what is the LCM of these two?
20.
20, right? Very good. It is 20. So which number times 4 gives me 20?
5.
5, right? So whatever we do to the denominator, we do to the numerator. So we have 35, right? 7 times 5 is 35. Minus, which number do we have to multiply by 5 to get 20?
4.
4.
4, right?
4.
Very good. So whatever we do to the denominator, we do to the numerator. So we minus 16, and that gives us 19, if I'm not mistaken. Over 20 times. Now, when we have complete this, we bring down the rest, right? To see which operation we are to do after that, right? Sorry, this is a plus. So which operation will we do next? Will we multiply or will we add?
Multiply.
Multiply, miss.
Multiply, right? So because this is multiplication, we just multiply straight, right? Numerator with numerator and denominator with denominator. So we have 19/40 plus 1/8, right? So to do this final one, we still have to find the LCM, which is 40 and this will give me 19 plus 5, right? Are you following? Because this is 1 and this is times 1, so we have 19, the first fraction, and 8 times 5 gives me 40. So I have to multiply by 5 here also. So what is my answer? What is my answer?
24/40.
24/40, but this can be reduced, right?
Yes, miss. Yes, miss.
By which number? By 8. 8 can go into 24 3 times, and 8 can go, sorry about that, and 8 can go into 40 5 times. So our answer is 3/5. Any questions?
No, miss.
No, miss.
Okay. So moving on to what we will do today, I have a question. I have 3 liters of water. I share some among 3 students. The first student gets 1 1/8 liters. The second gets half a liter, and the last one gets 1/4. How much do I have left? List the things that you will do to solve the problem. Just tell me, what will you do to solve the problem? I do not want you to solve the problem, but tell me, what will you do to solve this problem?
Subtract.
Could you repeat?
Subtract.
Subtract. Says Gerald, who has a different idea?
Add, Miss.
Add, say someone.
Add.
What will you add and what will you subtract?
Miss, you will
Add
add
and
the
detail.
the
Instructions.
your fractions, Miss, and then you will get a total of liters, Miss, and then you subtract it from the
Okay,
3 liters.
I have a little cup here, right? Let's see. I have my water and I divided it into 4 students, right? For instance, I will see that this cup has water, right? It doesn't have water, but I will say this. So this first one has 1/8 for the first student, right? The second one is a half for the second student, and the third one is 1/4. So if I want to know how much water I have left here, then what will I do or how will I do it, right? So some of you say add and some of you say subtract. But what will you add and what will you subtract?
Miss, you will add your amounts, Miss, and later you will subtract from the big amount, Miss, that you have.
Okay, we will start by adding these 3 amounts that I gave, right? I gave to the students, and then we will subtract from our total, right? So very good. So that brings us to what we will do today, right? So today we will be doing, do you have an idea? Do you have an idea what is our topic for today?
Word problems.
Worded problems with fractions, and right? So the class objectives are to identify what the word problem asks you to do, interpret the word problem correctly, and compute it, right? So worded problems in mathematics is a question written as a sentence, as one sentence or more that requires students to apply their math knowledge to a real life scenario, right? So word problems are just to help you to relate, right? For example, in the problem that we just did, you already know how to subtract, add, multiply, and divide fractions. You know the order of operation, but now you are required to use that you already know to solve a word problem, right? So to solve word problems, we have some little steps that we need to follow. We need to read the problem carefully, identify what the problem is asking you to do. Thirdly, we interpret the problem using mathematical expressions. We verify our work by cross-checking your interpretation or whatever you have made there, and then we solve using order of operation. So it is very important for you to read and understand what the problem wants. Once you identify what the problem is asking you to do, it will be very easy for you to interpret the problem. How? What I told you right now, or the example that we used, that is just a word problem, but I want to know how that looks as a mathematical expression, which fractions I will have there, which operations and everything else, right? So these are the steps that must be followed. For example, how much pie would be left if Luke could eat only 2/5 of one whole pie? What I want to know. That is the first thing you will ask yourself. What do I want to know? I want to know how much of the pie is left, right? How much pie would be left? I want to know how much pie is left, but how can I interpret now? What I know is how much pie would be left, what I want to know. And if I know that Luke only ate 2/5 of that pie, and I want to know how much is left, right? Remember, I presented some keywords to you way before time, way before this, so that you could relate the words to a operation, right? So we could know that when we said, how much do we have left? We can know that we want to know lo que nos queda, ¿verdad? The amount that we did not eat. So in this case, we know that we have a whole pie and we subtract the amount that Luke ate so that we get, right? So that we get how much is left. Ryan says we need to know in how much pieces the pie is cut. Not necessarily, Ryan, but good point. Not necessarily we need to know in how much slices it is cut. But by you knowing that it is 2/5, you can assume that it is cut in how many pieces? Right, very good. In 5 pieces. Why? Because they are telling you 2/5, right? That he ate 2/5 of that pie. So that means that out of 5 pieces there, he just ate 2. Ernest, are you paying attention?
Yes, Miss.
I hope so. I see you're very distracted there. Right, so what I was saying is that by us knowing that 2/5 is what he ate, and that means 2 out of 5, that we can assume that the pie is cut into 5 pieces, which is the whole pie, right? So that is how we have 1, or you could have 5 out of 5, or 5/5. Why? Because it means a whole. It means the same thing, right? There is nothing wrong with that. It is the same thing. So now we have a whole minus 2/5. We want to know how much is left there. So if we
Miss,
eat, yes, Lisette.
it's left with 3, Miss.
It's left with 3, but could we only write 3? Would that be correct if I only write 3?
No, you can share how you work it out, Miss.
Okay, just a moment. Right? So if I have there 5 out of 5, because we know in total there are 5 pieces. So from that 5 pieces, I ate 2. That means that I am left with 3 out of the 5 pieces, not with 3 only. It's 3 out of the 5. That's why our answer is a fraction. Why? Because it is working with 5/5 minus 2/5. We are not talking about whole numbers. We are talking about fractions. So even though our mind will tell us, yes, 3 pieces of pie are left, that is correct, but 3 out of
Miss
how much?
said it's gonna be 3 out of 5.
Yes, the answer will be 3 out of 5. Why? Because it is the amount
Miss,
that
and if we put only the 3, our answer
it
is
is
going to
not
be wrong.
correct.
It will be
It
wrong,
is
Miss.
wrong. If you
Miss,
put
because
only
then you
3,
eat
it is
this.
wrong. Why? Because if you want to do it
Miss,
without following the steps, then you know it will only be 3 pieces. But out of that 5 that you had, right? So if you want to interpret correctly, you have to know that it is 3 out of the whole, out of the 5, right? But if you need to show you're working, then you can do it like this. 1 minus 2/5. I find the LCM, which is 5. So we have 5/5 minus 2/5, which gives me 3/5. It's the same thing, right?
Yes, Miss, because then it may look like a whole number, like how Ryan said.
Yes, right? Because if we just put 3, then that tells me, you could tell me 3 pieces of pie, but 3 out of how many pieces? automatically we know that it is 5 pieces that the pie is cut into, right? So that's why it should be 3 out of 5, not just 3, right? So please remember that if you just give me a whole number and the answer cannot be represented as a whole number, there are instances maybe when you will get 3 over 1, that is a whole number, that is 3, but 3 over 1 is not the same thing as 3 over 5, right? So please keep that in mind. I gave you this question on Tuesday, I think. An electrician has a piece of wire that is 4 and 3/8 centimeters long. She divides the wire into pieces that are 1 and 2/3 centimeters long. How many pieces does she have? What do we want to know? That is our first question that we should ask ourselves. What do I want to know? I want to know how many pieces does she have, right? So how can I do that? The key word here is divide, because it automatically tells you that you are going to divide, right? So this is easier, sorry. Why? Because it tells you divide. In other cases, it will use a keyword, right? But what will we divide? We will divide 4 and 3 divided by 1 and 2/3. So whenever you are given a word problem, you should be able to interpret the word problem like this. For example, this whole problem comes down to this: 4 and 3/8 divided by 1 and 2/3. So if you do not have that correct, then everything will be wrong. So that is the second thing that you should do. Interpret the word problem into a mathematical expression. Read carefully, right? So we need to convert that to an improper fraction. How do we convert it? We already know 8 times 4, which is 32, plus 3, 35, divided by, we convert the second. Convert first. Remember, when we are dealing with division, convert first, and then we change sign and flip it, right? So in this case, we have 35 over 8 times 3 over 5 when we have changed the sign and flipped the fraction. So our answer is 21 over 8. Any questions?
No, miss.
No, miss.
No questions? Okay. I think I will only work one with you. Please, let's take note of these questions. These are in your activity 2. So, the first question reads, I set a goal to drink 64 ounces of water a day. If I drink 10.5 ounces in the morning, 15.5 ounces at noon, and 20 3/4 ounces at dinner, how many more ounces of water do I have to drink to reach my goal? So what do we want to know? What do we want to know in this question?
What are you gonna use?
Can you repeat, Gerald? I'm not asking which operation will we do, but what I want to know. What I want to know from this problem. Remember, that is how we start. We have to read, we have to identify what we want to
How
know.
many ounces of water are left when we
Very
could drink?
good. How many ounces of waters I need to drink to reach my goal, right? How many more ounces of water I need? So we know that we have drunk 10 and 1/3. We have also drunk 15.5. And we have also drunk 20 and 3/4. So to know how much more I have to drink to reach my goal, what should I do with these 3?
Add them.
Very good, we will add them. And what should we do after we add them?
Subtract, miss.
Subtract from what?
From what
Subtract
you
from what?
have, from what you have get from that you will subtract it by 64.
Very good. So we will subtract right? This is how you will interpret. Why? Because we know we should add that together before subtracting, right? So in order for us to not get confused, we just put our brackets. That is the first thing that we will do when we get our answer. We subtract from the 64, right? I will not guide you in the following steps how to convert it because we will run out of time. So I will just left it there and with the second example as well, and you will continue doing it on your own, right? Let me see if I can do the second one with you, and then you just continue the first one by yourself. So we have Deborah needs to make 16 costumes for the school play. Each costume requires 1/4 yards of material. How many yards of material will she need? What will we do here? What do I want to know?
How many materials you need?
Very good. How many materials she needs? How can I know that if I know she needs to make 16 costumes and each costume requires 2 1/4 yards? How will I get that? What operation should we do?
Multiply?
Very good. We will multiply. Why? Because we want to know how many she needs for 16 costumes, right? So we will multiply 16 by 2 1/4, sorry, right? So how can we interpret 16 as a fraction? 16 over what? How can we interpret a whole number as a fraction? We put it over which number?
1.
1. Very good. And how do we convert this? 4 times 2, 8. 8 plus 1 gives me 9/4. We can cancel the 4, right? 4 goes into 4 one time and 4 goes into 16 4 times. So my answer is 4 times 9. 36 over 1, which is 36 yards, right? And this is how you go by doing these questions. Any questions with these?
No, miss.
Nice.
No, miss.
Okay, so let's just do number 1. You will do number 1 by yourself in your notebooks quickly. A bag contains, please show me first your interpretation or tell me what your interpretation is. And if I see it is correct, you can continue solving. If I see it, you still have to try, then you know you have to correct something, right? But says a bag contains 10 3/4 cups of almonds. A serving of almond is 1/4. How many servings of almonds does the bag contain? What do I need to know? How many servings of almonds does the bag contain, right? How can I interpret this? Any suggestions? Remember, it is very important that you know how to interpret before solving. Why? Because if you
Miss,
interpret it wrong and solve it will, yes?
dividing, Miss.
Okay, what will we divide?
A serving of a cup, Miss, from the bag, the
Very
containing of
good.
the bag.
Very, very good. I hope some of you are taking note. If you do not know, we will divide a serving of almonds. I mean a bag that contains 10 and 3/4 by a serving of almonds, which is one fourth of a cup, right? So you should have 10 and 3/4 divided by 1/4, not 1/4 divided by 10 and 3/4, right? And then we just convert that fraction to improper, and then solve, right? So I'll give you 1 more minute for those of you that have not computed that, and we'll share our answers. It's pretty easy, that one. Have some of you finished? Let's just do the first one, right? If we do the two of them, we will be running out of time. Any questions with that number one? Are you having trouble? Are you getting there? Has someone finished? No one is finished? No one wants to respond?
No, Miss, I'm not finished.
You're not finished? Are you finished, Gerald?
No, miss, not yet.
No man, say Gerald. Are you finished, Ryan? Which Ryan? I will get the response, right? No. It's pretty easy. That's very simple. Just dividing. How do we convert? 10 times 4 times 10 gives me 40. 40 plus 3, 43 over 4 divided by 1/4, right? Okay, some of you see are done. So share your answer in the chat box or say it aloud, and I will see if it is correct, right? For those of you who are done, can I see what
Miss,
you have?
This is
Yes.
110.
I got
Could you repeat, Ernest? Ana says
Miss, ya
10
me
and
confundieron, Miss.
También.
why? You do your work, do not see what others do. You should be really sure if you are following the correct steps, then you should be sure that you are doing the correct work. Do not get carried out by someone else that tells you, oh, this is not what I got or this is what I got. Just do yourself, right? Do your answers by yourself and state it. Okay, so I see 10 and 3/4 and 43. So let's see which is the correct answer. If we have 43 divided by 4 times 4 over 1, because we are to flip it, the 4 cancels, And the answer is 43/1, or just 43 servings of almonds, right?
That's what I got, Miss. 43/1, and I have the workings
Me too,
here.
Miss.
Okay, if you got that, very good for yourself, right? That is the answer, right? So as I mentioned, if you are not sure, you can always ask, right? And very good, Ernest, right? So to wrap up on today's class session, share one idea you think everyone should have learned in today or the week sessions. One idea you think your classmates and yourself should have learned either today or the whole week that we had class.
Miss, to know the correct expression you will use when solving a word problem, Miss.
Okay, thank you, Ernest, for sharing. Problem solve, how to solve our problems. How to solve fractions with the art of operation, subtraction, multiplication. Yes, those are some ideas that everyone should have learned in today's or the week session. If you did not learn anything, please go back and review or ask how to solve fractions in order. Very good. So if you are, what was the answer, Miss? Because I got 43/4. The answer was 43/1. Remember that we have 43/4 divided by 1/4, but we need to change the division sign and flip the other fraction. So when we do that, we have 43 divided by 4 times 4/1. The 4 in the top cancels with the 4 in the bottom, so we have 1 and 1. So we just multiply, we have 43/1, which is 43, right? So this is what you should have learned. So our final activity is, what step must be followed to properly solve this question? A recipe for a cake calls for 1.5 cups of sugar. Madison wants to make half of the recipe to make a cake to share with her little sister. How many cups of sugar will she need? So what are the steps that must be followed to properly solve this question?
Division, Miss.
Okay. Ernest says division. Add says Munjorn. Remember, I'm asking what steps must I follow to properly solve this question? What are the key things I need to follow to solve a word problem? What are the steps to properly solve a word problem? Who remembers? You do not have to tell me in order, but just tell me what are some of the steps that you remember. And remember, I'm not asking you to solve the question. I'm just asking what steps must be followed to properly solve this question. Ernest here to find the fraction that you will use, right? But what is the first question you should ask yourself? The first step must be read carefully, right? Or that should be not even a step. You should know you should do that. The first step would be what? What if? Ryan, I'm not asking how we will solve the question. Please keep that in mind. I'm not asking how will I solve the question. I am asking what step must be followed to properly solve the question. What it's talking about, okay, we need to identify what we want to know. right? We want to identify what we want to know, followed by what should we do next? Which equation will I use? Which equation will I use? Or how to interpret the word problem using the operations, right? Which operation will I use? After that, what we had to do? After we have interpreted our expression, interpreted our word problem into an expression, what do we need to do?
Turn a mixed fraction into an improper.
Okay, turn the fraction into an improper fraction. Okay, good. What I need you to understand is that when we solve word problems, first we need to identify what the problem is asking us to do, interpret the problem into a mathematical expression, followed by verify, read again and verify if your expression or operations are correct, and then we can solve or convert whatever we have to do, right? Those are the four things I was looking for, right? I was not asking how to solve the question. Those are the four things you need to follow in order to solve a word problem correctly. So that is the end of our class session. I will see you Monday, and I'm sorry for taking 2 minutes of your time, right? But I will see you
Miss,
on Monday. Yes?
I have a question. In the work, we need to show working.
Yes. Show your working. Why? If you do not show working and just have your answer there and your answer is wrong, you will lose all points. Now, if you show your working, even though it might be wrong, you can still get points for having the correct working, right? So please show working. I had some students last time that lost many points because just giving the answer and then not showing each step that they did. So please show your working in your assignment. Any more questions? If there is no more questions, then I will see you guys.
Miss, I could ask you something at the end of the class?
Sure, Lisette. Okay, take care. Enjoy your weekend. Have fun. Do your assignments. And goodbye, right?
Bye, miss. Have a nice day, miss.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye, Miss
I
Christy.
don't know,
Bye,
miss. My miss. That she's a little bit quiet these days, miss.
Could you repeat, Ernest?
That she's quiet on these days, miss.
Who is quiet?
Miss Christy.
Oh, Miss Christy.
Bye, Miss Mai. Bye, Miss Catzim. Have a wonderful
She's
weekend.
here listening you, right? Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye, Miss Mai. Bye, Miss Catzim.
Bye,
Bye,
miss.
Yuri.
bye, Miss Bye. Bye, Miss Catzim.
Bye, Miss
Goodbye.
Maya. Bye, Miss Katzim.
Goodbye.
Bye, Miss Maya. Bye, Miss Katzim.
Goodbye, Alan.
Bye, Miss Mai. Bye, Miss Catzim.
Goodbye, Sally.
Bye, miss.
Goodbye, Pascual.
Bye, Miss Christy.
Miss,
Yes, listen.
I don't understand the work from that you teach on Tuesday.
That
I get
was
confused.
multiplication and division.
Yes, Miss, the one from yesterday and the one from today, I understand it.
Okay, it was just
But if
multiplication.
I will do my work, but if I don't understand something, I will call you or I will text you, Miss.
Okay, sure. You know, you can always call me or send me your work to verify if it is correct, right?
Okay,
But
Miss. Thank you.
okay, sure.
Bye, Miss. Bye,
Goodbye.
Miss Christy.
Yeah, yeah, understand. Understanding. If fractions, continuation of fractions, right? Yes, I think by representing as a quantity or, but it still has word problems to it. Yeah, I was taking a look at the package, yes, because I was starting to plan, so I was taking a look at the package too. Mm, with three, I'm not sure if it. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Okay, for next week, I have the first day to do fractions fractions of a quantity.